Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Friday. It's November the 22nd. This will be our chart lesson for today, and I'm doing this a little bit late. I actually traded early today and left early, and just decided I'd come back later and do the video, and kind of took the afternoon off. So I'm doing the video a little bit late, but we started off in a trading range. You can see that right there. We kind of broke higher, and we got stuck in a range similar to what we did yesterday, and then continued to trend on up higher. Um, we really trended up from the open basically, and that channel started down here around the 8:30 open, the regular open, and trended up. We started out in the trading range, obvious trading range. There's not a lot of volume. People are starting to get ready for the Thanksgiving holiday, and the trading slowing down. You can see that there's not a lot of bars today. This was a relatively easy trading day. Nothing out of the ordinary. Like I said, we really trended up from the regular open all day. This was a very clear trading range, and it's just not a real hard. I mean, it's very basic, I guess I should say. There's nothing out of the ordinary that would throw you with the market, you know, spiking one way, then spiking the other. It's just really quiet and easy going, and just kind of a steady move up. So not a lot of entries today either. We'll go back and talk about them. You notice I got a few green ones in there, and we'll talk about those. Um, but I'm going to move through this pretty quick. It's a pretty basic day, nothing out of the ordinary um, to really talk about. If you shouldn't have had any problems finding that channel right there. And fairly simple day. But let's talk about the trades. First one I saw was right around the 7 o'clock hour. This was an obvious trading range, kind of left over from yesterday afternoon. You can see that, the highs and lows. And we were trending down. We bounced off the high, waited on the second entry here. When we broke higher, I just dropped a limit order in there. I can't remember if this went lower first or higher first, so you'll have to go back and look. But either way, you could have got filled on a limit order there, and then it turns and goes higher. And but we're getting close to the top, so you want to make sure you got room. It didn't matter. You could have entered that with a stop and it would have worked, but you don't know that ahead of time. So you got to be thinking ahead, and I would have recommended using a limit order right there. But that's a second entry long, counting off the low. First entry, pullback, second entry. And then you had a second entry setting up off the top, but notice it never triggered, and then it tried to go higher, and you had a failed second entry long. And there's no reason to be going long right there. You can see that. Look at that congestion, all that overlap right at the highs. Just wait and see if you get the trap, and then it's an easy trade to the downside. And, just as you expect, we go down and we hit the low side, and then we bounce off the low side. I thought it was better to wait on this bar right here and a break of it, and then drop a limit order in there, and you see it would have worked. And then it goes right back to where you expect again, to the highs, and it turns down. I waited on the little failed second entry there. Notice you got one entry, it kind of pulls back, and so it's a double top right there and a double test, and then you get that bearish reversal bar. Just drop a stop there, because you're expecting it to come all the way back down. It did bounce early, but it was easy scalp. You didn't have any problems with that one. And then when the second entry short set up, you got a stem down here, stem at the top, three overlapping bars. Everything's kind of closing above the EMA. So that's not a very good place to be going short. If you went short there, you got to reverse when it comes back up. But I didn't like that for a short, just simply because it's not a very good setup. So it's a failed second entry short that reverses and gives you a chance to go long. And because it's a trap, it's okay to go long right there. And you still got a little room because the highs were really a little further up here. You can see that we'd had a higher high. So I like that trade. I got it in green because it's a little more aggressive getting close to those tops. But if you notice we're making higher lows there, that's a good signal that you're probably going to break out. And at the very least, when you started to get these little two dojis that couldn't go higher, you might have just got out with a tick or so, but it would have worked if you hung on. But again, you don't know that until after the fact. So if you get hung up in this, take a tick or whatever it'll give you and just exit and wait on a better entry. But the clues that it was going to go higher was the fact that we were making higher lows and we weren't going lower, and we had the little trap too. So, but it is a little aggressive because we're close to those highs, so I drew it in green. And we finally broke higher, and you see we were right up here at the other high. And it actually moved a little bit higher to catch all the closes. And it's really a little bit higher there off the lows to catch all the closes. And that's where you get the most touches using the closes. It kind of moved up there at the end. You can see that last close. But that's where I would have had that, and that's where I'd have my line on the low. And really all this is a correction because we're coming off the high of the channel. And you could have found that easily off the first two swings. And you just move it up. You can see that. Easy to find. And then when we bounce off of it again, we tried to go lower several times there. A little bitty doji, it goes lower and then turns and breaks out the high side. Just go long right there. I was a little surprised that it got hung up because I thought we'd move on higher. And this might have been another one where once you started getting hung up there and couldn't go higher, just take a tick or two and get out and wait on another entry. But if you kept your stop down here, it worked. But there's a lot of times they'll run those stops before it goes higher. So a wise man probably would have exited unless you got in with a good enough limit order here that you got out before you got to the high. And that's the real key to that. Is you want to think about trying to get in as close to the lows as you can so you got room. And let's see what you would have had to. Limit order would have definitely got filled at 97 1/4. So all you really had to do was when it broke higher was drop your limit order right at the top, and you've got enough to get out right there. But to get out before reaching the highs, you probably had to get in at 96. Actually, you'd have to get in at 95, 75 to be sure to get out. But that one's a little more aggressive too because this is a trading range and you got to use the limit order. And so that's why I drew it in green. And I really didn't like entering again here because there's just no guarantee that's going to go higher, and you're not making higher lows. There's no real clues. It's just a tight trading range. So it was better to wait on the breakout pullback long, and off this new low, you've got a first entry short, pullback, failed second entry short, and that's the catalyst. You can see it took off after that. And then you got to wait on it to come back again. You might have considered going short. I probably should have drawn that in green, and I probably will. But it's an uptrend, so it's dangerous going short. But I'll go ahead and draw that in green because you overshot here. You pull back, you got a first entry long. You pull back, you got a second entry long, and it fails. So you could have considered going short below that bar. I don't know if I would have once it stacked up these others. But there's a trap right there, a long trap, and so you might have gone short there. And you can see it would have worked. It would have worked going short below any of them. But I would have, this is real aggressive because there's a trend going up here, and you can see it's real clear. So, but we did get an overshoot, and we did have a trap, a long trap. So if you took it, that's great. But I think it's real aggressive. And same thing here off the bottom side. If we'd have broke above quickly, I would have liked that trade, but because it didn't, until you got this bar, you got congestion there. So, and see, it broke out and snapped back. So you're better off to wait and then go long. But aggressive trader probably would have taken that first entry right there, and then maybe added on the second entry right here when it broke above that bar, and there it goes again. And that was really the last one. You're getting you're getting close to the one, after 1 o'clock before you really get another chance to try to enter again. So that was it for today, really, past that point. So, and that's what I saw today. Again, it's pretty straightforward. There's nothing real exciting about today. In fact, it got really slow right in here, and you just got to be patient. And there's not much else you can do, and that's when I really decided I wanted to get out of here right after that move right there. So But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up, call it a weekend. I hope you had a good week. Hope you had a good trading day today. I'm going to try to get some, for the premium members, I'm going to try to maybe get something over the weekend posted there. I got some ideas from some of you. If you're a premium member, continue to send me your suggestions, and I'll put them on the list, and I'll work on them as I get a chance, and we'll add them to the stuff. But I've gotten some good ideas from some people already, and just keep sending that stuff to me. But I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next week.